All right, hey Vikings fans, welcome in to another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer, talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. And the beer we cashed some checks with a great beer tonight from Dimensional Brewing out of Dubuque, Iowa. It was fantastic.
Yeah, great beer. Then we got into the weeds of some of the most recent Vikings territory articles where we cover, and friend of the show, Dustin Baker, covers some potential Vikings trades as well as the new NFL Protector of the Year award.
Yeah, that award's pretty sick. Another thing that's pretty nice now compared to a year ago are the Vikings' current odds to win the Super Bowl. They're not the odds-on favorites, but we did take another look at a Vikings territory article from last year comparing the Vikings' odds to win the Super Bowl compared to other teams who had similar odds and how last year turned out. And then we looked at 2025 and how they rank against other teams with similar odds too. That was pretty fun.
I like the Vikings odds this year. I also like the odds of finishing this beer that we tried
100%.
tonight. We're going to smash this great beer. Check out the episode and grab a cold one and join us.
Skol.
Skol.
All right, we just want to say thank you to show sponsor Big Top Ventures for sponsoring today's episode. If you, listener, are looking to take a trip to an all-inclusive in Mexico or Jamaica, go ahead and reach out to our really good friends at Big Top Ventures. You can do that by sending an email to the email on the screen, which is bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com, and just let them know kind of when you want to go take that trip and where you're looking at and for how many days, and they will give you the hookup. It's the best price ever. And it's the best experience ever. I just went here in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to be going again with my whole family in July to Cancun. It's a blast, and Big Top is the reason for all of it. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Big Top. It may look like I went on a Big Top vacation because I'm a little tanner and I have a little bit of red on my nose than I did previous week, but it's not because I went on a trip with Big Top. I was sitting out at a track meet all weekend.
Nice. Well, and today was Memorial Day, so you were doing some yard work outside today.
I did some yard work.
You may not be able to tell from my skin color that I just spent a week in Jamaica here not too long ago because I don't tan. I turn red. Even if it's not sunburn, it's just like a weird tomato red. And I think I said this on the show a few weeks ago that I'm an avid indoorsman. And that includes, being in tropical locations as well. I don't like to spend 100% of my time outside. So I didn't get the best tan ever. I mean, I'm sure if I moved my watch, you could see it a little bit.
You want to see my watch tan? My watch tan. If you're watching right now, you can see my watch tan. It's strong.
Yeah. That's actually showing up on screen too.
That's really nice.
Well, if you want to tan, reach out to Big Top Ventures. They will give you every opportunity to be all tanned up throughout the summer. So thanks, Big Top.
Appreciate it. Well, you brought some beer.
I did.
Tonight. Tell us about it.
So this beer is from, I feel like I've never heard of this brewery before, but it's a brewery out of Dubuque, Iowa, called Dimensional Brewing Company. I feel like I've never heard of it, but there's a really good chance that through friend of the show, Forrest, I probably even had some of their beers before. I wouldn't be surprised. This one, though, is a Czech dark lager, and I really appreciate this beer name. It's not the craziest beer pun name I've ever seen, but it's really good. It's solid. It is called Cashin Czechs, as in a Czech lager. So yeah, it says it's a Czech dark lager. I'm not too sure what that means. I expect when we pour it, it's going to be a darker color, maybe have a little bit more of a full body flavor than just a regular lager. I just noticed on this this can art, it's a really just generic black can art with gold lettering, but if you notice, there's $signs.
Yeah, the S in Cashin and the S in checks.
No, but there's like speckled $signs all throughout the black.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's amazing.
So good job, at least on the can art dimensional. I'm really excited to try this. You're pouring yours, and yeah, it's already looking
it's
like
dark.
It's looking like a porter is what it's looking like.
Well, I can't drink this beer that's called Cash and Checks without making some sort of a reference to Randy Moss, straight cash homie.
Yeah, hey Randy, how are you going to pay that fine?
Straight cash homie. So there's my reference. It is dark. I cannot see through it. The head on this beer is outstanding.
Dark. Yeah.
It's got a really nice foamy head to it. Let's smell. We'll do the smell check.
All right. I will say, just by looking at this beer, it's gonna throw me off if it doesn't have like a coffee undertone to it. Like,
yeah, and you almost get that on the smell.
Oh, okay.
Like,
all right.
give it a sniff here in a second.
I'll sniff it.
There's definitely like some malty, caramelly tones. It reminds me of a little bit of the adventurous dark lager that we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay.
On episode 89. So, yeah. I think we need to try this.
Yeah, I'm ready. Skol.
Cool.
Jeez, we about broke those glasses.
Yeah. That's a good beer.
That's interesting because it's definitely a lager, but it does have.
It's less sweet than I expected it to be. It does not have the like caramel notes, but it's almost a little bit more like our beer that we brewed with Forrest not too long ago.
Yeah,
it's got a little bit more of that nutty undertone, which is good. I like that. It has a more complex flavor profile to it. I don't know. It's rich, and I like that. Yeah. You know me, I like a beer that doesn't try to pretend to be something that it's not, and this is a beer that just it doesn't pretend to be anything. It's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it might not be the best description, but it's the only one I can think of is to say that it's a dark lager makes complete sense after you try it. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Nothing too sweet, nothing too crazy. It's just a nice, normal lager with like a darker flavor to it, a more nutty flavor to it. I like it, and you're not kidding. This is a black beer. You are dark. Not seeing through this at all. No light is getting through. It's a cool looking beer. I really enjoy it so far, and I'm interested to see how much I enjoy it after two fulls.
And I feel like a lot of beers that kind of are in this category, at least by like color and head and whatnot, they have that kind of sweet caramel, a little bit more of that like malty type of after flavor. This doesn't have that necessarily. That's what I was expecting, and it doesn't have that. It's a little bit drier. It's a little bit more like I said, nut flavored, maybe a little bit more on the earthy tone side of things, and less of the sweet. I don't know. Caramel is the only thing I can think of
that malty, yeah. I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
It's really good, though. I like it, and it's different, and I think that's one of the reasons I like it.
For sure, too. Also, another thing with beers that look like this, they're usually at least 6.5%, 7%, which there's a time and a place, and I very much enjoy a 6.5%, 7+% beer. This one's 5.9, which there's also a really good time and a place for a lower content beer like that, and that's not even a low content beer. That's still right at 6. I think this one hits a home run for me. I like it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we're officially kind of in the quiet part of the NFL offseason. Like, we are now through free agency, we're through the draft, we're through the schedule release. Like, we kind of know everything there is to know about the upcoming Vikings season. I mean, barring any sort of like catastrophic injury in training camp or anything like that. Like, there's not a whole lot to know. There's not a lot of news coming out, but there still could be any sort of trade, I guess, could happen, or a free agent could be picked up. And I think that's maybe the most like podcast worthy topic at this point. Like
any additions,
like who could possibly make their way to the Vikings, probably at this point via a trade more than anything. I don't know that there are any like super notable free agents out there that the Vikings would scoop up and be better because of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting you say it that way, because like we said last week, I had recorded, or I had thought I recorded pretty solid 40-ish minutes of conversation with friend of the show, Dustin Baker. Turns out I didn't hit record, and we can make fun of me for the end of time. That's hilarious. I earned it. But one of the questions I asked him on this unrecorded segment that we just had a phone call with each other with was, with all of, free agency and draft and everything done, are the Vikings done making additions to the roster? And he said kind of probably that there might be a free agent here or there, but barring injury, it's probably what we have is what we'll get. But on top of that, he kind of mentioned a couple of names, and recently Dustin put out an article, I think it was even published today, Memorial Day, basically saying that Vikings territory would endorse 2 different trades for the Vikings to make to add players to the roster. So Dustin wasn't like predicting that these will happen, or that they're on the brink of happening, or that they're the only moves that he would root for. But if they were to make a trade, in the article he kind of alludes to the fact that Kwesi has always kind of made, one trade or one free agent signing around this time of year, so it's not far-fetched to think it could happen. But there were 2 players he listed out. Evan, which players did he list out?
So he listed out Michael Mayer from the Raiders, and I think one of the reasons he gives here is because the Raiders picked Brock Bowers at the end of round 1 in the NFL draft. So that would make sense that they brought in a new tight end. One has to go. And then the other one that Dustin talks about in his article is Tariq Woolen, cornerback out of Seattle.
Okay.
And if I had to pick one right now, if I had to say cornerback Tariq Woolen or tight end, I don't even remember his name, Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, I would pick Tariq Woolen, cornerback. And I don't even really know what the trade would entail. I don't know what I would give up if I were Kwesi. We would make horrible GMs. We discuss that a lot.
Absolutely.
We just sit around, drink beer, and talk about the Vikings. But I think the cornerback position, the secondary in general, safety and cornerback, is a position that wasn't really emphasized during the offseason. And so this would be the time to bolster that position group. And that's why, knowing really nothing about Tariq Woolen or his skill set, I would prioritize that over trading for a tight end.
Yeah. So, listeners, I encourage you to go check out the article. We'll probably link it below on Vikings territory. But as far as the tight end from Las Vegas, Michael Mayer, which that's interesting. That's a terrifying name.
Yes.
He was saying pretty much he was a second rounder in 2023, obviously before the Raiders selected Brock Bowers as a first rounder in 2024, so just last year. Brock Bowers turned into arguably one of, if not the best tight end in the NFL in 2024. So, I mean, you can't usurp that guy, even if you did draft another guy in the second round a year before. And since you drafted him in the second round, he's probably got some good value. So I would think Dustin also says it would make sense for Mayer to be on the trade block, especially when you have a high value guy that teams would definitely look at and give you at least something for, that was drafted by a previous regime. Because the Raiders, they got new coach. Pete Carroll. My goodness, I can't believe I forgot that name. So yeah, it wouldn't be absurd to think that Michael Mayer could be on the trade block and could be moved. Dustin Baker puts a his prediction of a value of a trade as something around like a 5th rounder. So the Vikings, I think, traded away their 5th rounder for 2025. So somewhere around that value, for 2026's draft. So somewhere around that value, the Vikings are looking okay. Draft pick wise, they're coming up on needing to acquire younger, cheaper players. And a reason that the Vikings could make sense in trading for a tight end is that tight end number 2, what's his name? My goodness, I can't believe names are totally escaping me right now.
You're talking tight end number 2 for the Vikings?
Yes.
Josh Oliver?
Josh Oliver. He is a pretty high-priced tight end number 2. He's a really good blocker, pretty high-priced, but he's also going into the last year of his deal. So it would make sense for the Vikings to kind of fill that role a year before they needed to with a guy who has a lot of upside and could be on the move for not terribly, too expensive. So I'd be okay with that. Honestly, I'd never really heard of Michael Meyer before reading that article today, but Dustin, through his writing, kind of convinced me of that. Tariq Woolen, I mentioned this unrecorded conversation I had with Dustin. Tariq Woolen came up, the Seattle cornerback. He was one player that Dustin said, because I kind of pressed him on that question, are the Vikings done adding players? I was like, well, what if they did? Like, what if they had to? He did mention Tariq Woolen, saying this is a starter level cornerback, which that's a hot commodity in the NFL, and a guy that for whatever reason doesn't seem to be well loved right now in Seattle. He was a starter for them, and then they got a new coaching staff. They got rid of Pete Carroll, got a new coaching staff, and kind of missed time and was pulled from the starting lineup for a little bit. And I don't think he was injured, but he's still pretty good. And for that reason, Dustin Baker kind of guessed his trade value as something like the Vikings would give up like a 3rd for Tariq Woolen and maybe like a 5th or a 6th as well, coming back to the Vikings. And like you mentioned, the Vikings didn't do too much in the way of developing that cornerback room. One big move they made was re-upping with Byron Murphy for a while, which was a solid move and can't be forgotten. But it's also, after Byron Murphy, you got some potentially decent players behind him, with Blackman coming up. My goodness, what is his name? Mekhi Blackman, who was looking to be pretty decent and then tore his ACL about a year ago. But he's healthy now and could be decent. And then you got another couple of guys that could be okay, but nobody's proven outside of Byron Murphy.
There was the somewhat splashy acquisition of Jeff Okudah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But even him, like, that's another guy that wasn't he like the 3rd overall pick a few years ago?
Yeah.
High potential, but hasn't really done anything. So
I think right now, in terms of the depth chart for the cornerback position, this is a tweet from Will Raggets from about a month ago now, April 26th. Mekhi Blackman, Isaiah Rodgers, and Byron Murphy are kind of your top 3 corners. Yeah. And then after that, it's a toss-up between Dwight McGlothern, Jeff Okudah, Tavier Thomas. And then you have a bunch of, I'm assuming most of these guys are undrafted free agents. Khalif Helaisi, didn't he come from the Browns?
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
I think he's a 2nd or 3rd year player from Cleveland. Ambry Thomas, Reddy Stewart, Keenan Garber, and Zemiah
Ambry Thomas, he's the guy that I think he even started a couple of games a year or two ago with the 49ers. So, but still, I mean, not a high-profile name by any means. But, yeah, there's a lot of potentially okay guys in that room, but nobody who's actually proven to be pretty good. And you could even argue Byron Murphy Jr., he's edged the line of not awesome, but also sometimes he flashes and is really good. And last year was his career year. He made a Pro Bowl, handful of picks. Definitely earned the contract extension that he got, but still, that's not every play that he's proving to be that way. So adding another starter level player, I think Tariq Woolen's like 6'4" as well, so pretty solidly huge guy. And adding that to arguably one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, you couldn't complain about that. And for a couple of picks, I wouldn't be too upset about adding him. But again, Dustin wasn't saying that will happen or should happen, just that it wouldn't be a bad move. It's one that if it did happen, we should all be happy about.
Yeah, and just kind of taking a quick glance at Tariq Woolen and his career, his best year was his rookie year. He was a Pro Bowler, and he was third in the Defensive Rookie of the Year voting.
Oh, wow.
He had 6 interceptions his rookie year, started all 17 games. Yeah, I don't know that you can really argue with that stat line. That's a pretty good one. The next 2 seasons, it looks like he missed a game or 2. Appeared in 16 games in 23, 15 games in 24, started 15 games in 23 and 14 games in 24. So he wasn't even a starter in all of the games that he appeared in the last 2 seasons. So he's definitely he's a fringe guy.
Yeah.
For Seattle, at least in the last 2 seasons. His rookie year was the best. But I don't know. You can't argue with 6 picks and then 5 picks the following 2 seasons combined.
Yeah.
2 his sophomore season and 3 last year. That's a lot. I mean, if you can get 2 or 3 picks a year, you're playing pretty well
pretty solid,
at your position. So I still stand pat with what I said. Sure, the tight end position, getting somebody like Michael Mayer could be interesting. I think the Vikings are fine at depth at that position. I think the Vikings have a lot more question marks at that cornerback position, and they may have more guys right now on the whatever, what is it, 90?
It's 90 man.
91 roster,
with
91
with the international spot. Yeah.
So there might be more cornerbacks on the roster currently, but once you get into the season, I kind of subscribe to the Mike Zimmer philosophy that you can never have too many defensive backs.
Yep.
Like, you need those guys. And you need a lot of them. You need depth at that position, and you need good guys at that position. It's a passing league. So if you're going to have, if teams are going to invest a lot in quarterbacks and wide receivers, then teams should also invest a lot in positions to defend those. And that's why you've seen this, it's not a resurgence, but this this overwhelming edge rush, thing, like the edge rush domination, we could call it. Those are players that are trained to go after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they do. And then you've got safeties and corners that are sitting in the backfield analyzing what the quarterback does and covering the wide receivers and picking the ball off.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think the one thing, I agree with everything you just said, but I think the one thing that should be most pointed out is you can't have too many defensive backs. You can't have too many cornerbacks. And the Vikings, you could argue, have some potential, but not really, only one decent one. And yeah, anytime you can add more depth and more value at that position. I've heard before that cornerback might be the second most important position in football after quarterback. So, yeah. And I'd be hard pressed to argue with that idea. But yeah, I think either of those players would be good for the team. And either way, I think this Vikings team in 25 is going to be pretty exciting to watch.
So what do you think about this new award that they're going to be offering coming up at the conclusion of the 25-26 season, the Protector of the Year? Yeah,
this is really cool. So basically it's an official award honoring supposedly the best offensive lineman in the NFL, because outside of being a Pro Bowler or the all NFL team or all pro team, there's not really, like, you're never going to see, even if he's the best center in the history of football and the best player on any field in the NFL, you're never going to see that guy ever win an MVP. I mean, you could make an argument that the center for a team in 1 year, like if he was amazing, was the reason they won all the games. But like even if that were the case, he'll never win an MVP. The best he'll get is a Pro Bowl and an All-Pro. So this Protector of the Year award is pretty cool. I don't know exactly how they're going to award it. I'm sure it's going to be a vote of some sort between players, coaches. Hopefully they leave fans out of it, because honestly, we say it all the time, we're just a couple of dudes. The fans that would be voting would be like, okay, my team's offensive lineman, yeah, I'm going to vote for that guy. Like, they don't know anything. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they vote for it. It is nice to see that these linemen are going to get specifically an award of their own to honor really good linemen, because there are linemen that make or break games for teams. We've seen it before as Vikings fans.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I think the work that Kwesi and KOC have done in this offseason proves that the battle is won or lost in the trenches. And they've made a pretty significant investment in those trenches because they know the talent they have in those skill positions. They're going to bolster those, and they have bolstered those trench positions. And now this Vikings team is looking on paper to be pretty formidable.
Should be, especially in the trenches. I mean, they signed 4 guys, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, and then drafted a first-round pick at guard/tackle. The Vikings have definitely proven, like you said, that they agree with an award like this just by their moves. And who do you think? Who would you put up for a Viking deserving of this kind of award?
I mean, we haven't seen the 2 guys on offense or the 2 guys on defense play in purple yet.
Sure.
So I have to go with somebody that I know, somebody that has played. I think for me right now, it would probably be a tie between Brian O'Neill or Christian Darrisaw.
Yeah, for sure.
A healthy Christian Darrisaw, that is. But, man, if you get both of those guys healthy, look out. It's a scary offensive line for the Vikings.
Yeah, and not to tangent too much, but this is going to be a tangent. I think people are underselling how significant Darrisaw's injury is and how long he's going to be out. I think a couple of weeks ago, the Vikings posted, or he posted on social media, like him working out and, doing athletic things. But that's a low pressure situation. I still think we should fully expect to not see Christian Darrisaw until at least halfway through the season, which puts a lot of pressure on Donovan Jackson, the rookie first round pick. Puts a lot of pressure on what's his name, Justin Skol. One of the earlier free agent tackles they signed, and they've made some other moves too. But I think this Protector of the Year, I'd agree with you. I think so far my pick would be Brian O'Neill at this moment for the Vikings. There are many high quality linemen throughout the league. I think Deion Dawkins for the Bills was one of the guys that was pretty instrumental in getting this award to exist, and he'd be a good guy to earn the award. It'd be hard to argue against him. Again, Dustin Baker wrote an article about this on VikingsTerritory.com, and he pointed out the Lane Johnson for the Eagles would be a good award winner. Also, this first year's award is it shouldn't, but it'll probably take into account like the careers of some guys. I think in the article, Dustin points out that Trent Williams for the 49ers, he's been feels like multiple decade stalwart on offensive line play in the NFL. So he might be one that just gets it no matter what because he deserves it. I think we could see, with the way the Vikings have built up their offensive line sometime in the next few years, a Viking earn an award like this, at least get a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, and that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd be all for it.
be pretty awesome. Well, it's about time those offensive linemen got some recognition for the hard work that they do, because they really don't get a lot. Like there's never been in my memory any sort of like offensive player of the year, MVP award, anything that's gone to a player in that category. So.
No, I feel like the opportunities for offensive linemen to get recognition is if they get a Pro Bowl, or if they get something like an All-Pro honor, and then definitely if they get elected into the Hall of Fame. So you basically need to be the best offensive lineman that has ever played football to be honored at all. It's kind of interesting. Whereas you could be, a running back with one halfway decent year and earn, MVP and get on the Madden cover, and everybody remembers, Peyton Hillis from the Browns that one time. It would not that Peyton Hillis got MVP, but still, you're never going to see an offensive lineman get MVP. It's not an award for them, really. They can't really earn it. But yeah, I'm a proponent of this award. I think it'll be nice.
I would like to do something that I do somewhat frequently on this show.
Fart?
No, actually, I don't do that on air.
We've probably recorded a few of your farts before. We may not have released it.
It's not published, but I would like to do something that I definitely have done before, and I would like to quote the great movie Moneyball.
Oh, great! It's not that good, dude.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Okay, what are you gonna quote? What's this awe-inspiring quote from Brad Pitt? I think you just like Brad Pitt. That's what I think. And there's no shame in that.
I think he does a pretty good job.
He's a beautiful man. Come on. We were both thinking it.
Yeah. He looks great.
Yeah.
But he says at one point in the movie, at this point, if a ground ball is hit to first base, there's nobody there to stop it from rolling. And I think that's kind of the character that he was supposed to play. It was just this kind of no nonsense, like, well, of course I'm going to prioritize the team. And I think it's kind of the same thing with offensive linemen. Like at this point, like unless Will Fries is there, fill in the gap, there's nobody that's going to stop the opposing defensive lineman from sacking the quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the sentiment applies. Whether or not you like the movie, I think it definitely it translates.
I would venture to say that if we put a poll out there and asked people if they liked Moneyball or not, or if they thought Moneyball was a really good movie, not just like fine to watch, but like a really good movie, most people would say no.
I think in the sports category, I think Moneyball has to be in most people's top 10.
We will have a segment one day. We will talk about that.
Okay.
Today is not the day, because I want to be prepared for that. If you remember, I kind of did a segment like that, specifically about football movies, with the guys on the Mainstream podcast.
I do recall.
Back in January. Shoot, it's been a while. But yeah, Moneyball will not be on. Watch it be my number one. Watch me just rock the Evan's world here and say Moneyball's the best. I won't.
You're going to go home and watch it, and you're going to be like, wow, that's a life-changing movie.
I've seen it, and it's fine.
You've seen it once.
Yeah, that's all you need to see. Don't watch Moneyball more than once, listeners. You can like it. I'm sorry.
What's your favorite sports movie?
I'm too on the spot. Honestly, there's not a lot of amazing sports movies. They're all kind of cheesy to me. Just off the top of my head, without thinking about it too much, Remember the Titans has got to be right up there.
I could quote most of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, and we've done it. We probably quoted that movie to each other throughout our lives.
It's a classic.
It is. Left side.
Strong side.
All right. Well, speaking of strong things, the Vikings' odds to win the Super Bowl as they sit right now, Memorial Day 2025, are a lot stronger now than they were this time last year. This time last year, at the same time, the Vikings were plus 8,000 to win the Super Bowl, which, if you don't bet, basically, I hope I'm going to say this right. I'm a very, very minor amateur sports bettor. I don't think I've made a sports bet in many months, but to be plus 8,000. So if you were to put $100 on the Vikings to win the Super Bowl this time last year, and if they had gone on to do it with those plus 8,000 odds, your payout would have been $8,100. Right now, the Vikings odds, according to DraftKings, is plus 3,000. So they're much better odds right now, or the payout would be less, but they're highly regarded much more now than they were this time last year. We're going to do it for the third time now. We're going to point you guys to a Vikings territory article. This one is from this time last year, though. It was the Vikings compared to similar teams, or similarly ranked teams according to the sports books, with similar odds to win the Super Bowl at that time. So I think I just mouthful butchered that whole thing. But anyways, this article that I'm talking about from last year compared the Vikings to some other teams that Vegas thought had similar odds to win the Super Bowl at that time. The other teams were the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Seahawks. So a year ago, Vegas thought the Vikings and those four teams had similar odds to win the Super Bowl. I think I finally got that point across.
You did great. You did great.
So I thought it'd be cool to kind of look at that article and then see how those other teams did in 2025 compared to the Vikings. And then kind of look at where the Vikings are ranked according to Vegas odds right now, and other similarly, ranked teams according to Vegas, and how we think that'll turn out this coming year. What do you think about that?
Well, let's start with last year. So last year, the Vikings at this point, post most of the offseason acquisitions, trades, free agency, the draft, the Vikings were plus 8,000. Other teams at plus 8,000 were the Cardinals, Raiders, and Saints, and then slightly better was the Seahawks. The Cardinals finished 8-9.
Yeah.
Last year. The Raiders finished an abysmal 4-13.
Yeah, the Raiders got their coach fired last year.
Yes. The Saints finished slightly better at 5-12, and the Seahawks did okay at 10-7.
Yeah,
but
the Seahawks were close to making the playoffs. None of the other four teams, none of the teams on this list last year other than the Vikings made the playoffs, so Vegas was right about those guys.
But this is a classic scenario of one of these things is not like the other, and that is the Vikings. The Vikings were 14-3. The Vikings won 14 games, 4 more than any other team on this list, and significantly more than most teams, sometimes double or more. In fact, in the case of the Raiders, they had an almost inverse record.
Yeah, exactly.
The Raiders were 4-13. The Vikings were 14-3. Like it was a tale of two teams. It was this kind of yin and yang. It was this hot or not type of thing. And the Vikings were the hot team last year. And I don't know. I feel like we talked about this going into last season. The Vikings were a much better team than people gave them credit for.
Yeah, I was pretty high on the Vikings last year.
They were downplayed. I wasn't as high on them as you were. I didn't expect as much out of Sam Darnold as we got. But holy buckets, did we get a ton out of Sam Darnold. And it wasn't just Sam Darnold. It was the defense, too. The defense played lights out.
Oh, yeah.
The defense kept that team in games at certain points throughout the season. So, it's interesting to look back on that and think, wow, the Vikings were plus 8,000 to win the Super Bowl in June of 2024, and they went 14-3 and made the playoffs and could have probably made a better run at things had things turned out differently.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if the lights weren't too bright for Sam Darnold in those final two games, the Vikings should have gone a lot further. But shoulda, coulda, woulda, they didn't actually win any playoff games. Same as the Lions. They didn't win any actual playoff games either. So the Vegas was kind of right. Ultimately, the Vikings didn't win the Super Bowl. again for the 60th year in a row or whatever. And Vegas was right about that. So I do think it's interesting too, currently, because I looked at the Vikings' current odds, the way they sit, and they're plus 3,000. Of the Saints, Seahawks, Raiders, Cardinals, and Vikings, the Vikings are by far and above the Vegas favorite of that list of teams to win the Super Bowl as things sit right now. So a year later, those five teams that were all pretty similarly viewed are now very much differently viewed. The Saints right now are dead last according to DraftKings, dead last in the NFL to win the Super Bowl, which, when your QB1 was already injured and then abruptly retires out of nowhere, that's pretty fair to say, like, you don't have a plan. And it's not like they had a good plan behind him outside of, a second rounder, third rounder. But currently, the Vikings are plus 3,000. And similarly ranked teams are the Chargers, Broncos, Buccaneers, and interestingly, the Bears. I think the Bears are getting a lot of help in Vegas by the view of their brand new head coach, who's supposed to be much better than their last one, which I agree with, and another year under Caleb Williams' belt, on top of what should be a better defense than last year. The Buccaneers, I don't really know. I mean, they have Baker Mayfield. Their team's okay. I could see them being ranked similarly to the Vikings. The Broncos, Bo Nix is the reason. His decent rookie year, and I think they made the playoffs last year. I could see them being ranked similarly. And the Chargers, you've got what should be a healthy Justin Herbert and a really good coach in Harbaugh. I can also see them being similarly ranked. And the Vikings they'd be ranked fourth on that list of 5 teams there as of right now. I think the Vikings, I'm still super high on them right now. They will go the way of J.J. McCarthy, which it's a lot of unknowns, but I think he's going to be good. And then you can't bet against Kevin O'Connell right now, the reigning NFL Coach of the Year. So what do you think? Should the Vikings be with those other teams? Should they be better, worse? What are your thoughts right now?
I think it's a 50-50 split. I think there are 2 teams on this list. The Vikings are definitely like equivalent to, if not either like slightly inferior or slightly superior to.
Okay.
And then there are 2 teams on this list that I think are definitely like, no, there's no conversation. There's no question. The Vikings are better than these teams. And it could be somewhat of a hot take, but I think the Vikings are patently better than the Bears at this point.
Yeah, I agree. At this point, there's a lot of unknowns with the Bears. There's more unknowns for them than there are for the Vikings.
Correct. And a lot will be figured out in that Week 1 Monday Night Football game against the Bears in the first game of the regular season. So, but I still think on paper at this point the Vikings are the better team going into that matchup. So I think the plus 3,000 for the Vikings and the plus 3,500 for the Bears is accurate.
I agree.
And I would maybe push the Bears down a little bit farther on that list, just because there's more to prove for them and there's less to prove for the Vikings. The core of the Vikings is still very much intact. There's a new quarterback. There's a few new offensive linemen. There's a new running back. But other than that, like, the Vikings core is pretty much the same. And it's just new guys, throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, throwing the ball to TJ Hawkinson, a couple of new guys up front blocking. You add a dynamic running back to Aaron Jones, who's already proven to be great no matter where he is.
As long as Jones can hold up at his age. But yeah,
if he can stay healthy. But I think the other team on this list that is a question mark at this point, I think, is the Bucs. And I'm not just going purely by numbers here. The Chargers and Broncos, I think, both Did they make the playoffs last year? I think they did.
Let me look it up for sure. I know the Broncos did.
And they kind of made it in, like they were one of the last teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were one that in the last week they needed to win and then have another team or two lose.
And if the Chargers didn't make the playoffs, the Chargers were still a good team. And the Chargers are led by Jim Harbaugh with Justin Herbert, with a decent core of players around them. I think the Chargers and Broncos are just different. I think they're built differently than the Bucks and the Bears. And
the Chargers did make the playoffs. They lost to the Texans in the wild card round.
Okay. So again, it's another classic scenario of one of these things is not like the other, but in this instance, two of these things are not like the other. The Bucks and the Bears did not make the playoffs. The Chargers and the Broncos did make the playoffs. So did the Vikings. I like the 3 playoff teams to make the playoffs again. And I like the 2 teams on this list, the Buccaneers and the Bears, that did not make the playoffs last year, to follow suit and not make the playoffs again.
Interesting. And while I fully agree with you, I'm also reminded, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think every year there's something like 4 teams every year on each conference that didn't make the playoffs last year that go on to make the playoffs, which tells you there's also 4 teams that did make it that don't go on to make it. So there's always some turnover. I think that's one of the best things about the NFL. You can finish third in your division one year and then go to the Super Bowl the next year. You know, like there's a lot of parity. It feels like every team, unless, you know, you're the Lions for the last 55, 60 years, it feels like every team has a chance, especially when it comes to late May. You know, everybody's undefeated. Everybody just had the best offseason of the world. Everybody's healthy. Your first-round pick's going to be a Hall of Famer, you know, all that stuff. So, yeah, as of now, I tend to agree with you. I think the Vikings are definitely better than the Bears. Who's the other team that you said that they were patently better than?
Buccaneers.
The Bears and the Buccaneers, I could see that. And then the Broncos, I feel like the Vikings are at least tied with the Broncos. I think they have an edge with their current coach. I know Sean Payton, he's won a Super Bowl. So just right there, as far as careers go, he's better than KOC right now. As far as careers go, if you look at the whole picture. But as far as things sit right now, I think the Vikings and KOC and JJ McCarthy. And again, I know it's absurd to say JJ McCarthy is better than Bo Nix right now, because Bo Nix has a full year of starting experience under his belt in the NFL and proven success, whereas JJ had a couple drives in a preseason game and then sat the year on IR. I totally get that what I'm saying is absurd, but I think JJ McCarthy is still better than Bo Nix. So, yeah, I agree with you. Definitely better than the Buccaneers and the Bears, and at least tied with the Broncos. And sure, I'll give the edge to the Chargers as the way things sit right now.
I think the Vikings are better than all 4 of those teams.
You could get me to agree with that, but just quickly glancing at it, yeah, I'm comfortable with what I just said.
That's fair. There's only one way to find out, and that's to play the games.
Play the games.
See what happens.
You can't argue with win-loss. You can say, oh, well, this guy was injured, or, oh, if it wasn't for that one interception, who cares? It's the only thing that matters is wins and losses, and the only thing that really matters is Super Bowl wins and losses. And currently the Vikings are completely defeated when it comes to Super Bowl wins. So hopefully this year's the year. If not, hopefully next year's the year. We will get there. I believe sometime in our lifetime and sometime in this current regime, the Vikings will make it to a Super Bowl before it's all said and done.
Well, of those 4 teams, the Vikings only play 2 of them. Of course, the Vikings play the Bears twice. They always do because they're in the same division.
You win,
and
you
then
always do.
The Vikings play at the Chargers Thursday Night Football, October 23rd.
Yeah, that'll be a tough game too. Going to LA or that part of the country is always tough.
Yep, going west is hard for any Midwest or East Coast team. Going west is hard. And the Chargers are a formidable team.
Absolutely.
You've got Jim Harbaugh there. You've got Justin Herbert there. Like there's that's a force to be reckoned with, I think. And they made the playoffs last year, and I don't know that there was a lot of change up in the Chargers between last year and this year.
Yeah, I can't think of any crazy moves. They should still be patently the same team basically as they were last year. Harbaugh's a good coach. I mean, obviously he's made it to at least one, if not multiple Super Bowls. I don't think he's won one, but I think the one he lost was against his brother. He's a good coach. He's won national championships. He was pivotal in the college development of J.J. McCarthy. I will always be a Harbaugh fan. Frankly, both Harbaughs. And I've only said Harbaugh because I can't remember. I think it's Jim in
Jim and
L.A.
John.
Jim's in L.A., John's in Baltimore, right? I think that's right. But yeah, all this, again, it's going to be a good season, and it's fun to think that the Vikings are looked at as a contender, whereas this time last year it was like, the Vikings, they're going to win 6.5, 7 games, and then boom, they doubled it. I think the Vikings are finally going into a season with a little bit of respect. Hopefully they can back that up. And again, like we've said 1,000 times, that all goes with JJ. And hopefully he can turn into something good.
So one other thing that's not really on our list to talk about.
Oh, man.
We've been kind of taking a peek at it here the entire time we've been recording this episode. The Timberwolves are playing in Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals right now. They're currently losing 99-94 to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
But
what's your prediction? Do they make it out of Game 4 here? Do they tie it up 2-2?
I hope so. It'd be awesome if we could know that before this episode's done recording. That might be a stretch, though, because we're winding down towards the end and there's still 9 minutes of basketball left. 99-94. The Timberwolves in Game 3 just completely embarrassed the OKC Thunder.
Yes, they did.
It was a throttling. And you can't really take a lot of pride in that because the 2 games before it were basically throttlings against the Timberwolves from OKC. So I've said it 1,000 times. I'm not an elite basketball mind. I'm really just a fair weather Timberwolves fan. We just saw a major collision that I think somebody's going to earn a foul.
Nas Reed. Wow.
But yeah, I'm hoping they come back, they win this Game 4, tie up the series, and go on to win the series. I just want to see a Big 4 Minnesota team in a championship. I think we talked about it last week. Leighton Glodek tweeted something like, "This is the 4th time in my lifetime I'm seeing, a Minnesota Big 4 team make the conference championship." I just want to see someone in the championship because I think, again, I'm not an elite basketball mind. I think I've heard basically if the Timberwolves win this series, they should be favored to win the finals because this series is going to be harder than either of the 2 teams that they would play. Is it the Pacers and the Knicks?
Pacers and Knicks, yep.
And again, not to disrespect the Pacers or Knicks, but I think OKC is by far and above the best team in the playoffs right now. Let's just do it. Come on, Timberwolves. Win this game, win the series, go on and win 4 in the championship, and bring it home. Embarrass the Vikings and light a fire under every other Big 4 team in Minnesota by winning a championship.
I definitely have hope. But they're definitely the underdog. And I think you said it. OKC is definitely the better team. They've proven that. The first 2 games were kind of embarrassing for the Timberwolves. But those first 2 games were also on the road. And the first home game in the series was a drubbing. And that was fun to see. And they're at home again here in Game 4.
It's a tough game.
It's a really close game right now.
They've been trailing most of the game. It's been close.
Yes.
As things sit right now, it's 96-101. I think if they win this game, If the Timberwolves win this game in a close fashion, that kind of proves that they belong with the Thunder. Thunder are a good team, 68-14 throughout this season. You don't do that by accident. You don't win almost 70 games in the NBA by accident. And they had the MVP and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
SGA.
Yeah, if the Timberwolves go on to win this close game, then they should be in it with the Thunder for the rest of the series, and they've proven they can blow them out at home. If they go on to win this and then hopefully win one in OKC, that just proves you can do it. So I want it. I want it bad. I think most Minnesota sports fans want it bad. Come on, let's just do it. Just get it done.
What do you think of this beer?
This beer for me is Cashin Czechs. This is really good. It's a darker one, so not one that you probably want to drink in every single occasion, which is weird to say about a lager, because usually a lager, like, Bud Light, I'll drink that anytime. I think Bud Light's a lager. That might be a Pilsner. I don't know. But it's a dark lager. It's got a lot of nice flavor. Not trying to be more than it is or anything other than what it is. It's just a good beer. I like it a lot. What do you think?
Spot on. It's a great beer. It's got some nutty flavor to it, which I think is kind of reminiscent of the beer that we brewed just a couple of months ago. It's not a beer that messes around. It's not trying to pretend to be something that it is not, like you said. I'm going to have to seek this one out. I'm going to have to get another one.
I got it at our favorite Devil's Glen Hy-Vee.
It's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think this was a pretty good episode. I thought we had some good talkers. Everything from, what's going to happen next year to what could happen still before next year even happens.
Yeah,
Like we kind of covered it all. I enjoyed it. It was good.
And here in the next handful of weeks, I think it's usually July, we'll have our game-by-game prediction. And we should, during that episode, kind of go back to 24 and see how right I was, because I know I was pretty right in most of the games. So.
And also, recap the quarter in the beer.
Hopefully you don't put your beer in your quarter in your beer again like you did last year.
My beer in my quarter.
All right. Well, great episode. Really great beer.
Best episode yet.
Yeah. Skol. Can we do the just looking at the camera high five?
Oh, dang it.
The one rule.
I gotta switch hands.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good.